it a lot more than so many other people. But we are discussing as though this is a regular budget. And not a budget by a government, I mean, not on vote on account at all. And I just want to say that if these things had been done 2 or 3 years earlier, the impact would have been fantastic for the economy also. I just want to make a point, and that is, I know Mr. Mohammad Khan's party, what it's going to do tomorrow. But my guess is, if some really good proposals come, like the 10% thing, the will immediately support it. And if they do that, then they're going to hope to dilute any positive impact. The Congress, in my view, behaved with great, frankly, technical skill in supporting this 10% reservation, and they might support all these tax breaks if they're actually going to come.
Yes, absolutely. Mohammad Khan, you want to respond to that?
Yes, of course, Professor Nalapat. In fact, every year when the finance bill is passed, we of course vote in favor of amendments to the Finance Act and the new Finance Act that is then brought in. So we are not here to quibble over small points. I just have 2 quick points to make. First of all, the BJP spokesperson's homespun and economic knowledge aside, I have 2 things to say. This entire GST, bringing petrol under GST debate is a false flag. And I'll tell you why, Gauri. Because as per the constitutional amendment carried out, which brought GST into force, which we supported, by the way, the fact is that the GST Council can at any point of time decide to bring fuel within the ambit of GST. They can do that if 2/3 of the vote is cast in favor of that resolution.
Mohammed, I am in complete agreement with you that as far as fuel is concerned, GST Council is a vote BJP uses.
So they could have done it
completely
by
in
now if they
agreement with you.
wanted. They didn't.
I am completely in agreement with you that this is a bogey that BJP uses. GST Council, 1/3 is the central government's vote. That is what the state's vote is. And there itself, BJP, till now, of course, had governments in 19 states, and they could have passed it. I'm in agreement with you, but the question and the response, in fact, was to what Professor Nalapat said, that if there are these good feel-good factors and in terms of these middle-class breaks that are being talked about, tax breaks for the middle class, Congress would, of course, be supporting all that, whether it is the home loan, whether it is the education loan, whether it is new IITs, IIMs.
पिछले 5 साल में आपने देखा है, हम तो हमेशा उसके साथ, whenever they've come up with the scheme, even with Ayushman Bharat, it is the job of the opposition to ask about the details. In fact, if they were do the same thing. What Professor Nalapat calls tactical, I call our constitutional duty. The government can make any kind of sloganeering and promises, but when they're on the floor of Parliament, they have to give us a roadmap. We cannot exonerate them from that responsibility. That is why we ask these questions. Mr. Malik talks about universities, etc. May I remind the government that they have saved several lakh crores of rupees from the windfall gains from oil, and yet we have no idea where that money has been spent. Because if you go to the ministry's website, they say it is being spent on rural development.
11 lakh crores.
We don't know where the money is. 11. How many AIMs and IITs could have been built in that amount of money, Gauri? You tell me.
I'm going to now slip into...
But 11 crore people get opportunity to have their own businesses is a problem for you. People getting gas is a problem for you. Ayushman, people getting that
Mr. Malik, again, please don't embarrass yourself by saying that. As one of the panelists pointed out, the average size of the
problem for you.
50,000
you are always somebody who would call, let's Garibi Hatao, 70 to 2020, you're going to talk about Garibi Hatao, but you do not want the Garib to progress. That is what your thing is, because then apparently a vote bank goes off.
Between 2015, 270 million people have been elevated out of poverty, something your government can never hope to accomplish. You know why? Because
2014 to 2018, sir. These 70 million plus people have been going.
All right, Rahman Malik,
much
Mohammad
faster
Khan.
than yours.
Okay, we need to slip into that very short break. Mohammad Khan, we come back and talk. We come back and talk politics. We come back and talk the social sector schemes. We come back and talk how much of money is going to go into the Yojana and the Gram Sadak Yojana, the Yojanas which are going to really be the hallmark of this budget. How much money is really going to go into those social sector schemes? We're going to come back and talk on that. Stay tuned.
सर तेरा नूर है सबसे बड़ा, तेरा नूर है Over 60,000 people are enjoying the big move. Join them today. Honda Amaze, the big move.
Upon whom every Indian relies, whose every action manifests to make the country proud. She relies only on BSNL broadband, because that is the country's best broadband. Be it village or city, super fast internet speed. BSNL, reliable broadband.
BSNL, unbeatable broadband. Like me, you should get connected with BSNL broadband.
ये गुड्डे गुड़ियों का खेल नहीं, शेरनी का पंजा है ये. कहीं तेरा ही टेटवा दाब दे, मत ले पंगा.
Dabur Chyawanprash Pro Wrestling League Season 4, co-powered by Amul, Sony 6, Sony 10-3 or Sony Vahpar. Title sponsor, Dabur Chyawanprash, clinically tested double immunity, co-powered by Amul, the taste of India. Associate sponsor, Piccadilly Agro Industries, Dabur Shilajit Gold, Tosh or Shakti. Partner, Air India.
Made speed the identity. As distances vanished, it brought a smile to the face. Strong resolve helped overcome every obstacle. With speed, attacked every challenge. The entire world was within my grasp when I found BSNL in the garb of my loved one's affection.
BSNL super fast fiber broadband. Like you should get connected with BSNL fiber broadband.
तेरी खातर दूध बादाम खा रहा हूँ. गलती से भी दूध पीता बच्चा मत समझ लियो. मतलब पंगा.
Dabur Chyawanprash Pro Wrestling League Season 4, co-powered by Amul, Sony 6, Sony 10-3 or Sony Vahpar. Title sponsor, Dabur Chyawanprash, clinically tested double immunity, co-powered by Amul, the taste of India. Associate sponsor, Piccadilly Agro Industries, Dabur Shilajit Gold, Bharpur Josh or Shakti. Partner, Air India. Hospitality partner, Piccadilly Hotels. Multiplex partner, Carnival Cinemas. Healthcare partner, Fortis. Sportswear partner, T10 Sports. Ticketing partner, Paytm Insider.
छोटे से ये जिंदगी से भरे, इन्हें हाथों में भर ले और जी ले जरा. संग संग तेरे चल रहे सफर में, बन के तेरे ये रहनुमा. हौले हौले से कहती है क्या ये जिंदगी, सुन ले जरा. चला
छोटे छोटे लम्हों का अनोखा सफर. कमला पसंद, अनोखा स्वाद.
I am proud to play for my country. But doing that requires training, hard work, separation from family. But there is someone who gives me the courage to fight, brings my loved ones close to me, always with me, my family and my BSNL unbreakable network. I have chosen BSNL network, so should you.
Welcome back. We're of course in our special broadcast ahead of Budget 2019 to be presented by Interim Finance Minister Piyush Goyal. All eyes on the commentary that will come out that would set the tone for BJP's campaign for 2019. Expectation is that social sector schemes, specifically the Narega or the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana or some of the others, as far as Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana is concerned, all those social sector schemes related to rural electrification, roads, all that could get a huge boost and a huge leg up. There could be massive increase in the allocations for these schemes. message, as I said, for rural India, where of course BJP did get a jolt after when of course those 3 state election results came up. But those schemes could in fact get a huge increase as far as allocations are concerned. More importantly, let's also move ahead. Many have been saying that this could really be a farm-specific budget. It could have some sort of farmer income that could be there, guarantees for farmers. It could be direct benefit transfer for farmers. That could be there. Crop insurance, there could be an update there as well coming in. So largely in line with what many in the party believe, that it's time to focus more on the rural, it's time to focus more on the farmers, which is what the assembly election results threw up. Raman Malik, let me ask you this. Is it going to be a political commentary of the Modi government ahead of 2019? Focus on rural, focus on farmers, especially after the 11th December jolt.
Well, it's going to be a clear speech about what we have done, yes. It's going to be about our philosophy, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, yes. It is going to be about a positive India. It is going to be about a vibrant, it's going to be about all those things which are India positive. And that is the way forward for India to go. See, when you Standard Charter and things like organizations like that, they have a study and they pronounce that if India goes on the same track, India could by 2030 be the 2nd biggest economy in the world. Those guys do not just say it for the heck of it, or they're not bhaks as what probably some people would say. So this government is actually making the foundation of this nation strong.
All right, Pranjal, you want to come in there?
Well, you know, this budget could, you know, we should look at some of the perception issues which the finance minister would like to talk about. And I would like to flag the issue of crony capitalism, because that's linked very intrinsically to the corporate sentiment and the fact that what the government can claim to have achieved some success of in terms of removing, you know, the first time in the history of India, the owners of businesses are scared of losing their company if they have, you know, indulged in fraud or they have mismanaged money. And I think in the recent days, we've also seen some of these people who are absconders come back into the country, some as recently as today. So I think there's this narrative of ensuring that there is a clean system where people who are thought to be above the law are being brought under control. I think that would be an important...
There was fresh updates on the Augusta case yesterday as well.
And I think that will reflect in the budget too.
Yes, that will reflect in the budget too. Professor Nalapal, very quickly, then we slip into a break.
Well,
do you see social sector schemes really being the highlight of this budget with a lot of focus on more money, more allocations there?
Look, Gauri, it depends on whether it's going to be a vote on account or whether it's going to be an interim budget. And if it's an interim budget, definitely this is more important to the BJP than its manifesto.
Of course.
This is going to be much more important than about 100 speeches by the Prime Minister and Mr. Amit Shah. This is a very, very critical thing for the next election. So from that point of view, knowing the BJP and it's frankly, it is very focused on getting back to power, it is very likely that these things may happen. I just want to make a point regarding some Mr. Talwar or Saxena. These are small fry. Their only value is if they can net the big fish. So if you can use a Talwar or a Saxena or a Michel to net really big fish, which this government has not done at all since 2014, that will make an impact. But some Talwar or Saxena coming back, I don't believe there's any impact.
All right, can we stick our neck out and say it's going to be a full-fledged budget or a vote on account? We probably cannot. But at this stage, what we are most certain of is going to be a political speech with a lot of political commentary, the tone for BJP's campaign. On that note, we slip into a very, very short breather and we come back on the other side with the big debate around, is budget 2019 going to be about universal basic income? Has the idea, time of that idea come now? Remember, Arvind Subramaniam did talk about in 2016 economic survey, but he did also mention that where's the money? Is that idea now something that budget 2019 would focus on? Stay tuned, we come back with that debate.
There's a new day coming, A day when our lives become sustainable and dynamic. At Toshiba, we're driven by passion to create energy, to build social infrastructure, to make intelligent electronic devices and storage, and to create digital solutions, so we can enjoy this new day sooner. Toshiba, for a new day.
फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा, फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा, कुछ अपनों की सुन, कुछ अपनी सुना, स्माइल को अपनी पहचान बना, BSNL संग मुस्कुरा, फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा, फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा।
हमारा पकड़ा छूटता नहीं, हमारा पटका उठता नहीं, मत ले पंगा। Dabur Chyawanprash Pro Wrestling League Season 4, co-powered by Amul, Sony 6, Sony 10-3 और Sony Vahpar. Title sponsor, Dabur Chyawanprash, clinically tested double immunity, co-powered by Amul, the taste of India. Associate sponsor, Agro Industries, Dabur Shilajit Gold, Bharpur Josh और शक्ति. Partner, Air India.
मैच खत्म?
नहीं, मेरा डेटा प्लान खत्म।
GPS बंद हो गया, लगता है नेटवर्क गया।
मेरा भी नेटवर्क गायब
टीना,
है। इसका तो फोन ही डब्बा है।
अब
कहीं चलकर रास्ता पूछ लेते हैं।
कमाल का मतलब मारता है भाई साहब। मेरे प्रीतो का फोन है। हाँ टाइम ना ला जावांगा। भाई वाह, आपके फोन में कौन सा नेटवर्क है? और की
BSNL दे क्रिस्टल क्लियर वॉइस हाई स्पीड डेटा। BSNL पूर्ण स्वदेशी नेटवर्क।
Once you visit Assam, it stays with you forever.
I am proud to play for my country. But doing that requires training, hard work, separation from family. But there is someone who gives me the courage to fight, brings my loved ones close to me. Always with me, my family and my BSNL Unbreakable Network. I have chosen BSNL Network, so should you.
ये गुड्डे गुड़ियों का खेल नहीं, शेरनी का पंजा है ये, कहीं तेरा ही टेटवा दाब दे, मत ले पंगा।
Dabur Chyawanprash Pro Wrestling League Season 4, co-powered by Amul, Sony 6, Sony 10-3 और Sony Vahpar. Title sponsor, Dabur Chyawanprash, clinically tested double immunity, co-powered by Amul, the taste of India. Associate sponsor, Piccadilly Agro Industries, Dabur Shilajit Gold, Bharpur Josh और शक्ति. Partner, Air India.
Welcome back. You're watching our special focus ahead of Budget 2019. I'm Gauri Dwivedi. You're watching NewsX. The last budget of the Modi government before elections, less than now 24 hours away. In fact, it is expected to take the spotlight on the announcement as far as universal basic income is concerned. The idea, remember, was first mooted by former Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramaniam in 2016 in the economic survey, where he said maybe the time is right, though there is no way to know how India would actually fund such a large it hasn't been done in any other part of the world. And this has, of course, been contemplated for several years now. And that is, of course, something that earlier this week also pointed out and said that, in fact, made it a poor promise that if the Congress does come to power, then UBI, some form of that, would actually be implemented by Congress. Remains to be seen whether any form of income guarantee scheme would actually be part of Budget 2019. And amidst the political charges and counter charges that have been going on, remains to be seen whether or not a poverty alleviation scheme can come about in the budget, and more importantly, can the government find a way to fund it? That is the big question. But let's first tell our viewers what exactly is a universal basic income scheme.
The universal basic income entails income guarantee to all the unemployed poor. It is modeled on the American Social Security schemes. The UBI would guarantee monthly income which would be paid directly by the government. The families availing the scheme would have to prove no other source of income, and there would be a monthly transfer directly to the person's bank account.
Right. Whether or not this would actually come about in Budget 2019 remains to be seen. Also joining us on the broadcast is Nasir Salim, who's with the Samajwadi Party and also, of course, been a banker. We also have Pallavi Sharma joining us representing the Congress. We'll be getting S.K. Datta, who's a political analyst, in just a bit. Ajay Dua, who's a former Commerce Secretary, would also be joining us. Let's quickly, in fact, Nasir, take the first question to you. There has been a lot of talk about UBI in the last 1 week with the Congress president talking about it. Of course, earlier it was Chief Economic Advisor who mentioned it. The fact of the matter is, you understand numbers very well. You're a banker yourself. Can India afford a UBI scheme?
Gauri, I personally feel, as far as, UBI is concerned, it's a strategy that is being adopted basically for political gains at the moment. And it's a good far-fetched idea and thought, but looking at where we are in terms of fiscal, and it's more important in today's scenario because we are getting into a situation of competitive populism at the cost of our fiscal prudence, and I think that is something which needs to be questioned, number one. Number two, the other thing I think, as far as the universal basic income program is concerned, that the Congress party is talking about, also needs to be clarified in terms of what is the threshold limit which it will be able to be give out these basic incomes to its citizens. I mean, what is the threshold and what is the basis of that threshold? Obviously, it can't be below, citizens below the poverty line.
There will be some threshold parameters,
these are some of the more important questions that need to be answered. And I think
Pallavi Sharma, let me ask that to you as well. And given
yes,
that a lot of this budget speech...
But what we feel...
Okay, finish your point, Nasir. Finish your point, yes.
Yeah, no, my point is very simple. That as long as it doesn't dent the fiscal prudence, the fiscal overall macro picture of the economy, I think one can look at it with its merits. But that is paramount.
Okay. All right, okay. Given that this budget is going to be a lot of political commentary, it's only fair that we also talk about the politics of this budget. Pallavi Sharma, पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे इस budget, इस universal basic income के?
Yes. First and foremost, let me very humbly take this opportunity to correct you. My party president has not spoken about UBI. He's spoken about minimum wage, minimum basic income, which is MBI, which is different from UBI. So UBI states that every individual, including me, including you, including the Ambanis and Adanis, will be liable to a stipulated sum that will be decided by the government. Whereas the minimum basic income that my party president is talking about and the Congress party speaks about,
then your party president must have also done the back of the envelope calculations.
Who are living below the threshold
then
of
your
poverty
party president
line.
Must have also done the back of the envelope calculations.
Allow me to finish. I'll come to that. I got your question. Yes, I got your question. I'll come to that. Please allow me to finish. Please allow me to finish. Please allow me to finish. I've got your question. Right. So we are targeting the poorest of the poor. Now, if you remember, in 1617, there was an economic survey done. Mr. Arvind Subramaniam headed that economic survey, and he said that 7620 per annum, which is 7,620 rupees per annum, can be given to 70% of the population. He said that there was a survey that was done. Now, we are not targeting that 75% of the population. As per the Tendulkar report and the Raghunathan report, we usually follow the Tendulkar report, which says that there are only 22% of poor that are living below the poverty line. We are only targeting them. And the GDP
Let's ask this to Ajay Dua as well. Ajay Dua, former Commerce Secretary, joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Dua, everybody likes an income guarantee scheme because it's a great poll promise. But how do you fund it? Mr. Dua, are you able to hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. I'm saying, sir, everybody likes an income guarantee scheme. It's the best feel-good factor that any politician can possibly give. But how do you fund it?
Absolutely. Is that a question to me?
Yes, sir.
I think we would have start small. That means keep the threshold limit of people who are entitled to it at a low level. And secondly, start by giving some amount of, call it an income, an allowance, dole, whatever you like, but cannot be, given our financial position and given our priorities, it cannot be a scheme which covers a very large population or a population which, or the beneficiary cannot expect to start with large sums of account. When I say this, I have in mind that up to about 1% of GDP, up to 1% of GDP we are spending on this scheme, probably funds can be found for it by looking at the 1,000-odd centrally sponsored schemes, clubbing some of them, and the old ones which have not really been getting the benefit, targeting the benefit, scrapping them, and as one acquires the experience, then ramp it up, and at the same time take out more and more of which are serving similar purpose and which were targeted to a particular service. Instead, give more choice to the beneficiary, whether he wants a subsidy on fuel, whether he wants a subsidy on food, or whether he wants subsidy on health or somewhere else.
SK Datta is also broadcast.
More market.
Yes. Stay with us, Mr. Dua. I want to quickly take in opening comments from SK Datta, and then I want to bring in both Pranjal as well as Professor Nalapal. There's a lot of talk about, given the fact that it's a political budget, there's going to be political commentary. The BJP has seen 3 assembly election results going. It is going to come out with some sort of a income guarantee scheme. The question is, can this country afford it?
Well, Gauri, it all depends on how you systemize your, financial resources and how you, distribute your financial resources in relation to different social schemes, in relation to different sectors. If it is done in a very systematic way with a proper check and balance, I don't see any reason as to why this cannot be successful. Many countries in the past have done this, and especially Western countries are known for their social initiatives. And there is the guarantee for all kind of social basic necessities of every citizen by all the Western governments. They give to that. So in the Indian case, yes, things are very complex in the Indian scenario.
Because of the sheer scale at which it has to be done.
And the level of population which we have, so therefore the challenge becomes very gigantic. But I guess there is no harm in trying it. One should actually try this out. If successful, well and good. If it is not successful, something else can be thought of. But in the context of India, if I look into the whole thing, taking into cognizance the total population of the country, I would say that around 1 to 1.5% of the GDP would actually be needed for, making this scheme.
And that means somebody needs to fund it, right? We have to find ways to fund it. Quickly, Raman Malik, then I want to get in both Pranjal as well as Professor Nalapal.
Since the Congress panelist, she said, the minimum income guarantee. Now you must understand what are they focusing and what is the political idea behind it. They call it a UBI or a minimum guarantee. But the fact is that they are only referring to those people who are extremely poor, and extremely poor are those who in the rural areas are earning 32 rupees a day,
right,
or 47 or 42 rupees, something like that, in the urban areas, and that is the population they want to cater.
Okay.
But whereas I also shared with you the data which said that the quantum of those people have reduced to something like 15 million or so, maybe, or maybe a little lower than that also.
Okay.
So now the point is that it is being sold as a dream. It is not being given as a solution to the needy.
The question is that BJP भी कुछ ऐसा सोच रही है. BJP भी कह रही है कि हमें कुछ ऐसा करना पड़ेगा.
I'll tell you what has been the idea.
चुनावी budget है. It's a political budget.
I'll tell you what. In the papers of the manifesto of Rajasthan election, Vasundhara ji had written something like this in that manifesto, which clearly stated that to uplift these people have a life of disparity, and that difference between the extremely poor and the poor has to finish.
Okay.
And that is the liability of the state to give quality life.
All right.
So we have done certain things, we need to do more.
Okay, Professor Nalapat, yes.
I just want to take over from what Raman was saying.
Yes.
Done certain things. Writing something in a manifesto is not doing anything, frankly. People in power, people expect you to do certain things, which is why
so 2019... Do you expect an income guarantee scheme tomorrow, sir?
Look, let me
some form of it.
Look, we are missing an important point, which is that if the rate of growth is high, if it is boosted to double digit, then it will be very easy to fund the scheme.
Okay.
We're talking of 1% of GDP. GDP is not static. If GDP grows fast and you have growth-inducing policies, then you can easily fund it.
Okay.
Can I add up one small thing out here, Gauri?
Yes.
I expect and I'm hoping that the government of India in the last budget tomorrow would be announcing something in relation to this.
Yes.
There has been a lot of talk in relation to this, and my what I said in the initial comment of mine was I was talking about people who are unemployed, you know, irrespective of any region, caste or creed.
Okay.
Anyone who is unemployed and who is not able to fend himself should be assisted by the government. And it is the social responsibility of any government to take care of those people who cannot, survive on their own. And I guess the government of India would be looking on those lines.
No, there are, you know, the point is when you talk about policy making, when you talk about public finances, there are competing claims to the same amount. That is what is the challenge as far as public finance is concerned, Pranjal, which is where, you know, it is very interesting that at one end, of course, when you talk about the kind of socio-economic dimensions and dynamics that we have, yes, there is an argument which is fairly credible that it's incumbent upon any government to be feeding people below a certain poverty threshold. But at the end of the day, it's the same amount of money, and we need to figure a way out how best to utilize it.
You know, good point, Gauri. I think people have this impression, and this is politically also it's been created, that what's going to happen is somebody is going to go to every square of a village or a town and take wads of notes and throw them in the air, and everybody has some little amount of notes to go home with. That's not how it's going to happen. Let me coin a word on your show and say that, you know, we already have a minimum benefit scheme. Everybody is getting certain minimum benefits from the government in some way or the other already. Now, if you're talking about minimum income, we've had this system of direct benefit transfer under UPA 2, and this has now, you know, morphed and matured into something called the Jan Dhan scheme, which has now about 340 million accounts, but a lot of them I think the question partly is about the finance, but I would say a larger and more important issue is how are you going to make sure that people get it? It's one thing for me to promise you 10 rupees a day, but another thing for me to actually receive that. So I think where we falter right now is that the system is not robust enough for a minimum income guarantee or a universal basic income to actually go through the pipelines to ensure. I think that's where the real challenge is, in not just in promises.
Okay, Nasir, you want to comment? Then I'll get to you, sir, as well. Yes, Nasir.
Yeah, Gauri, I just, I heard, and I think I completely agree with Professor Nalapa on his point on the fact that we need to ensure growth needs to go into double digits. But I'll give you certain statistics, Gauri. For last financial year, for example, 17 and 18, what costed the exchequer under various subsidies in terms of subsidies or tax benefits that was given. What costed the exchequer was 75,000 crores of budget outlay in terms of tax incentives given across, various, for example, under Section 87A, insurance covers, tax saving investments, high exemption to senior citizens. So obviously there is a huge amount of pressure already building, and this year, Gauri, I tell you, I meet a lot of people as a banker. I've been meeting a lot of clients, and there is by and large consensus that their threshold limits on income tax should also go up. Let's not forget that there is a lot of expectation built around certain other incentives which need to be rolled out.
So there are competing claims to the same finances, right? That's what I said.
A rolling out of a program such as this, whether it's...
Isn't it?
Yes. No, exactly. That's the point. Yeah.
So are we oversimplifying this by just saying that, people need it, we need to figure a way out to fund it? Are we just oversimplifying the entire budget-making exercise as far as India is concerned?
No, of course not.
Gauri, in my opinion, no, Gauri, no, I'll tell you, Gauri, as far as, if you look at the economic outlay and the budget outlay that we're going to be presenting tomorrow, I don't think so we can afford to roll out a program like this, because our economy still is way it needs to catch up. There is a lot of far more momentum, whether in terms of economic growth, whether in terms of economic activity, whether in terms of that needs to be added today. And I think the main focus today, if you ask us, is ensuring that we give out less incentives and ensuring how we can grow further. The job fronts, whether it's on reducing further NPA or whether it's ensuring that our collections go up. Today we've had some great news. I must tell you on your show, GST has gone up by over a lakh today, a lakh crore. So that's some great news again coming away. That's the kind of numbers we need to look forward to.
Okay, a quick comment from you, sir, and we'll get in the others as well. As far as UBI is concerned.
I don't think that currently country is ready for this UBI. Without any statistical data about what we have right now and what the percentage of population which need it, because you have to read a large of exercise about what are the threshold, what are the cutoff point you have to make for the Indian country. We are about 1.3 billion, and it's not just saying it we can give in and keep it like a jumla for what BJP government has done. Yes.
Okay.
Do you think that Indian economy presently is on that pace which Manmohan Singh ji has left it on 2009 or 2014? I don't. Different statutory bodies have always questioned.
Congress is also saying the same thing, right? It's not like BJP is the one singing this tune.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Both leading parties are just playing the gimmicks of this politics, and this is the interim budget. Everybody has an eye on 60 days going on general elections, and this is not. I don't think a country needs this
Sharma,
time
you want to respond to that? Then I'll get in both Professor Nalapat, SK Datta and Raman Malik as well. Yes, Pallavi Sharma.
Yes, Gauri. I've been waiting patiently. Just quick points. Yes. Point one. See, I was just hearing a learned panelist speak before me. He said there's no number, there's no data, there's no survey. There's a survey that has been done in 1617, Economic Survey of India, that says 75% people can be given 7,600 rupees approximately per annum. And what we are saying right now, I think this trend of painting all political parties with the same brush has to stop. That BJP is also saying this, Congress is also saying this. No, we are not saying what the BJP is saying. We are not talking about universal basic income. We know our economy has gone down miserably in the last 4.5 years. That's not a scheme that we can look at. We are talking about minimum basic income, which requires only 1% of the GDP. And all your panelists said it requires 1% of the GDP. Extremely viable.
Pallavi
that
Sharma,
is all we are
it's
saying.
It's a simple question.
Point two.
It's a simple question. Pallavi, you've made your point. You've made your point.
In Tamil Nadu, and
I have a simple question.
Saying Tamil Nadu is going to go bankrupt.
Pallavi Sharma,
today we know midday meal scheme has become a national scheme.
No, listen to me.
Let's not jump to conclusions.
No, let's not jump to conclusions. Let me ask you this question. A universal basic income will have thresholds. You can thresholds that are there will be more than one, there will be many, and that's of course how beneficiaries will be decided and weeded out. When you talk about a minimum income guarantee, it has to be given to all. So what is the kind of basic calculation here?
No.
How is it going to happen?
That is where you're wrong. That is where you're wrong. Let me correct you.
Gauri, I think there is some confusion.
Yes, let me correct this basic perception. You're wrong there.
Okay, let's get an Ajay Dua here. Let's get an Ajay Dua here, then I'll get panelists here as well.
Yeah,
Ajay Dua.
Even the Ambanis and Adanis will get a basic minimum income, but that is not what the minimum basic income says.
Let's allow others to also speak. You made your point. You made a political point. Let's get it. You made your political point.
Gauri, I think... Gauri, I think there is a mix-up.
I'm clearing the
UBI is for everybody.
Minimum income guarantee has to be given how?
The UBI is for everybody.
Okay.
Universal basic income.
Minimum basic
irrespective of what income you have. So all the 1.3 billion people
is the kind of
become
stuff that
eligible.
you can expect tomorrow? Is that what you're saying?
No, I am saying no. I don't think either of the two things is going to happen tomorrow. It has now, we are pushing into competitive populism. Both sides know that it is not possible to cover a large population, leave alone UBI, even a minimum income guarantee for all the poor people.
Is this competitive populism? People should be allowed to put
yes,
food
it is not a good thing. Need it.
Is this competitive populism?
No,
I'm not denying. I'm not denying that there is need for it, but we cannot afford.
Look, I'm sure the panel is completely
all that I'm saying
on the same page.
We need it. Do you mind if I make a simple point?
Yes.
Basic income if my income is 1,000 rupees below that, I get 1,000 rupees to reach that level.
Okay.
If my income is 6,000 rupees below that, I get 6,000 rupees to reach that level. It doesn't mean everybody. It's not a flat rate. It's a, frankly, you have to ensure that people get enough for them to reach that particular income. Second point I want to make, supposing you are a poor person, you have so many opportunities to help the country, which you are missing because you are poor. Now the fact is, 1% of the population in India has more than 50% of the entire wealth of the country. Now, the bottom 20 or 30%, they just don't have the resources to produce enough to be productive. You have to give them the resources and they will then be productive.
Okay, yes, very quickly. Then I'll get Raman Malik on comparative populism.
Gauri, if we really have to fulfill
This is why I'll come to you, sir. I'll give you 30 seconds, sir. I'll give you 30 seconds.
If we really have to fulfill the dream of sustainable development and inclusive growth and economic, economic benefits to the last man in the last ladder of the country, we have to think on those lines.
Why did you not think of this in 2014?
Just
why is the 2019
just give me 10 seconds more. 10 seconds more. Just 10 seconds.
Okay, 10 seconds, yes.
There is so much of disparity when it question of income generation of individuals.
Right.
On one side, we have a percentage of population whose annual income is in thousands. And on the other side, we have people who don't even have the, basic amenities to have food per meal, So those who are such huge incomes, tax them in a different way. The tax rate
that's how revenue generation will happen.
So that revenue generation can happen and that might be, it can be diversified and it can be utilized in all these schemes.
All right, Ajay Dua, I'll give you that 30 seconds, sir, as I promised. But Raman Malik, the question that comes to mind, this is an idea that India needs. Why not implement it before the vote on account?
See, couple of things you must understand. This government from the very inception, the Prime Minister said that we are committed to the poor of this country. And the work that this has done has actually, poverty elevation has been a mission and has been mission in progress with work and standards being attained. It is not just a 70s onwards till 2020. No, please, let me finish.
Vote on account pe kyun baat kar? Why are we talking about this on vote on account? Why not in the budget? In the last
this is, we are well in our domains to announce whatever we think is necessary. Pallavi, I'll answer to you, don't worry.
Let's not make it. Pallavi, I'll come to you. No tutu meme, please. Let's not make it a tutu meme debate.
So,
give a specific number, sir. I will give you a number.
Yes. I have to also slip into a break. Very quickly, Raman Malik, point. I want to give
I'll give you a number. I'll give you a number which you will like. And after that, you will speak a lot. Okay. So, the point is that we have done things.
Yes.
We have given, like the health scheme that we have given, like the other shelter scheme that the gas, other things, they are basically to uplift the standard of life. So in continuation we can do that. But yes, and in the first budget also, remember Gauri, in the first budget the finance minister said we are giving you a roadmap which we are going to continue. Please ask Pallavi, how much effort did they all make to save the security of Mr. Surjewala by just 900 votes today? So she will be able to. That's because she must take it.
Let's not digress. Ajay Dua, 30 seconds. Then we really do need to slip into that break. What about our budget? Our budgets are going. Ajay Dua, 30 seconds, please.
Bringing it in this topic, which is where it's not even.
Yes.
Ajay Dua, 30 seconds, please.
I'd like to say that we are saying our tax GDP ratio is at 17.9% and growing only by 5% per year.
No, not at all. Not at all.
The GDP growth has grown by 7.5%. We are not in a position
absolutely not
right now.
Sir, you are quoting wrong figures.
Any extra
you are quoting wrong figures.
No,
what's a debate without a difference of opinion? Stay with us.
No, you are quoting wrong figures. The international estimates doesn't proclaim the way you are saying.
What about our budgets? They are going haywire. We need to slip into that very short commercial break. We come back on the other side and continue our debate as far as Budget 2019 and expectations are concerned. Stay tuned.
This program is associated with all-new Honda Amaze.
तेरा नूर है सबसे बड़ा तेरा नूर है सबसे बड़ा
Over 60,000 people are enjoying the big move. Join them today. Honda Amaze, the big move.
There's a new day coming, a day when our lives become sustainable and dynamic. At Toshiba, we're driven to make a comfortable and safer world. Toshiba, for a new day.
Upon whom every Indian relies, whose every action manifests a desire to make the country proud. She relies only on BSNL broadband, because that is the country's best broadband. Be it village or city, super fast net speed. BSNL, reliable broadband.
BSNL, unbeatable broadband. Like me, you should get connected with BSNL.
तुम्हारे पापा ने मना कर दिया तो?
हिटलर थोड़ी ना है मेरे पापा। 1-2 घंटे बिठा के तुम्हारा टेस्ट लेंगे, फिर हाँ बोल देंगे।
टेस्ट? कैसा टेस्ट?
हाँ तो यंग मैन, क्या नाम बताया? कहाँ तक पढ़े हो?
जी मैं
क्या करते हो?
आजकल तुम
ड्रग्स तो नहीं करते?
नहीं।
वैसे तुम्हारा HIV स्टेटस क्या है?
हाँ जी बोलो। HIV के लक्षण दिखने में कई साल लग सकते हैं। अगर आपने कभी भी असुरक्षित यौन संबंध रखा हो या संक्रमित सुई का किया हो तो नजदीकी ICTC क्लिनिक में HIV की जांच जरूर करवाएं। सरकारी अस्पताल में HIV की जांच और इलाज गुप्त और मुफ्त। HIV से बचाओ, लाइफ का असली इम्तिहान।
Made speed the identity. As distances vanished, it brought a smile to the face. Strong resolve had overcome every obstacle. With speed, attacked every challenge. The entire world was within my grasp when I found in the garb of my loved one's affection.
BSNL super fast fiber broadband. Like me, you should get connected with BSNL broadband.
मुस्कान अच्छी है। प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना करोड़ों महिलाओं के चेहरे पर मुस्कान ला रही है।
किसने सोचा था हमारे घर में सरकार लगवा देगी।
और अब उज्ज्वला योजना सबके लिए है। हर महिला अपना पहचान पत्र दिखाकर इस योजना का लाभ उठा सकती है।
माताओं की पीड़ा को भली भांति अनुभव करके आया हूँ।
अब 6 करोड़ महिलाओं को मिला उज्ज्वला योजना का लाभ। भारत के 90 में पहुंची घरेलू गैस। प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना, करोड़ों महिलाओं की मुस्कान, अब सबके लिए।
I am proud to play for my country. But doing that requires training, hard work, separation from family. But there is someone who gives me the courage to fight, brings my loved ones close to me. Always with me, my family and my BSNL Unbreakable Network. I have chosen BSNL Network, so should you.
Back, you're watching our special broadcast ahead of Budget 2019 with NewsX. I'm Gauri Dwivedi. Now, as 2019 Lok Sabha elections are almost around the corner, NDA is, of course, leaving no opportunity to reiterate its achievements that it has made as far as the last 4.5 years is concerned, which is what many believe the budget is likely to focus on as well. Remember, Prime Minister Modi, not so long back, at the Pravasi Bharati Divas event, did also claim that his government has managed to really curb as far as money going for these government policies is concerned, and has managed to succeed in giving around 5.7 lakh crore rupees as far as direct benefits is concerned. He also did mention that very famous comment made by Rajiv Gandhi 30 years ago, where he said that unlike the Congress, where it managed to only 15% of the money to the intended beneficiaries, this time around BJP is ensuring that all money does go to the intended beneficiaries, making us ask the big question: is the commentary going to be around these direct benefit schemes tomorrow? Will there be more money going into these direct benefit schemes? And of course, the political impact. First up, let's listen in to what exactly Prime Minister Modi said when he made that comment a few days back.
हमने टेक्नोलॉजी का इस्तेमाल इस 85% की लूट को 100% खत्म कर दिया है। बीते 4.5 वर्षों में करीब 5,80,000 करोड़ रुपए 5,80,000 करोड़ रुपए यानी करीब $80 बिलियन हमारी सरकार ने अलग अलग योजनाओं के तहत सीधे लोगों को दिए, उनके बैंक अकाउंट में ट्रांसफर किए।
All right, as I said, is the focus going to be around those direct benefit schemes? Can there be more money being put into this? And could there be commentary about replacing all this with that single big announcement as far as an income guarantee is concerned? Nasir, do you expect that?
Gauri, I personally feel, as far as ruling out the basic income program is concerned, as of now there will be not much of say. But what I personally feel is that there will definitely be a lot of push on certain other ambits that the government can offer. For example, more from a consumer perspective, I personally feel that they will they will have some changes in the form of dividend on taxation. Today, for example, a dividend distribution on tax on companies is 15%, and then on top of it, when you invest in certain equity funds, you end up paying taxation on that as well at 10%. Okay. That can be tweaked. I think there is an option where what is expected also is tax deduction for home insurance, for example. Okay. That's something which has not been covered under the 80C benefit, but we see that the budget can talk about benefit. Okay. Then there is also talking about increasing wider usage and section of under 80C.
Nasir, we will talk about those specific provisions and those specific areas at 8 o'clock, when we will be talking about, this is a campaign that we've been talking about at NewsX, is how, middle class needs larger say as far as the budget is concerned. We'll talk about that at 8 o'clock. But specifically right now, I want to ask you this, Nasir, that the DBT scheme that, this government has focused the last couple of years, and some of those comments that have come in from the government in the past about how ghost beneficiaries have been plugged out, how leakages have been completely plugged. Do you see that really to be one of the big highlights of the budget? Do you see more money actually going into these schemes, given that they actually touch the electorate ahead of an election year, could be very crucial?
Gauri, look, I must confess to you, and I must agree that, look, the DBT was not something that was that the BJP or the current government can take credit of, because the DBT was started, frankly, in the UPA too. It was mentioned by them, it was started by them, and the direct benefit transfer, yes, has definitely been, the implementation has definitely been added to a more execution platform, which is in this government. Okay. But that's obviously because they've had something which was announced earlier. They've been making provisions on it. They've been adding and making changes to it.
Okay.
So in my opinion, that's a fact, sir. This is verifiable data. You can check it out. DBT was not started by the BJP. I'm sorry, by this government.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we are talking about the fact.
Number one, number two.
Yes. Okay, finish your point. Yes.
It is part of Mahatma Gandhi Narega.
That's right. Which was originally launched
by
absolutely.
Absolutely. And the point is, as far as the DBT is concerned, still a lot of action that needs to take place, Gauri. There is still a lot of beneficiaries today where they are not getting the actual subsidies.
Yes,
or the actual,
it's a work in progress.
They're not getting credits of it. So that's something
Raman Malik, I'll give you a chance. But let me quickly.
Just 5 seconds.
Okay, all right.
But it obviously
I just want to correct my dear friend that had this government not gone after creating a bank account which is linked and digitalized for every individual, did not get in BEAM apps and other things, this DBT and the exact benefit of DBT would not have been enjoyed by the poor of this country. That is what they need to understand. 33 crore accounts have been added. And what have the entire 70 years given, we know that.
Okay, all right. Pranjal, let me ask you this. You know, it's an election year, and when you talk about DBT schemes, they actually reach out to the electorate. That's the connection that these DBT schemes make. It is so crucial in an election year, which is why the question that do you think allocations there would be that much more important?
You know, I think Jan Dhan Yojana, which is what is DBT is the functional name for it, but Jan Dhan Yojana, as it is known, is actually an excellent structure for the government to give direct subsidies to people instead of indirect subsidies. So it goes directly into the hands of the person who needs it most. The system in terms of concept is excellent. In terms of its practice, it is still a bit wobbly. I think it still needs to be strengthened. I think the work so far in terms of expanding the base has been excellent. But you know, there's still a lot of dormancy in that. So there's 70 to 80% dormancy where accounts have been opened, but people are still not comfortable about using this. Because remember, these are the people who have never seen a check. They have been hiding their money, or they save their money under their beds. They dig a hole in their hut and then put their money over there. So this is a population who doesn't know what with the cash that they have in their hand. And now we have a system which say that we will give you money directly through your bank account. It's going to be a conceptual issue. It will take some time to warm up to. But the government of the day, whichever government it is, can definitely use this structure to give direct subsidies without leakages. And I think that's a very important point. Previous systems had tremendous leakages. There was no way to know whether the person was genuine or not. But with biometric identification, I don't hesitate to say it is far more robust system.
You want to come in there, sir?
No, I just want to point out that Gauri, technology is really very important in making a system more honest. Narasimha Rao and Rajiv Gandhi, if you remember, regarding telephone, regarding booking of rail, they did a lot. Unfortunately, Manmohan Singh did not. But this government certainly, the Prime Minister Modi is paying a lot of attention to technology. I just want to point out one problem. Now, it's not just a question of direct benefit. It's also withdrawing many of the benefits of so many of the subsidies. Because, for example, fertilizer subsidy, you know, mostly very rich people get the benefit of that. Look at the loan waiver. A few states and rich farmers almost all the benefits of loan waiver. So we need to not only give direct benefit transfer, but also withdraw benefits from many upper class, lower income people in the rural sector who are getting subsidies that they don't really need.
Could you see that coming in the budget? Could you see that coming tomorrow?
Yes, I guess there would be a proper line of thought in relation to that, and I would definitely say that there would be a roadmap in relation to that. A question might arise as to why are you doing this at the last time, when you are at the 11th hour, why during the vote on account? See, the constitution of this country is very clear that it's not necessary that always it has to be a vote on account.
Okay.
It can be a full-fledged budget also. It depends on the discretion of the government of what it thinks is the best. Tradition is that generally the outgoing government has followed the tradition of vote on account. It's not a must. It can be a full-fledged budget also. And I understand, as far as my information goes, tomorrow's budget is going to be a full-fledged budget, taking into account the coming whole financial year.
Right.
And there would be a clear roadmap in relation to this. And I agree with what Professor Saab has said. People who have been enjoying benefits because of their political strings, they are the ones who needs to be penalized now.
Okay, very quickly, sir. Then
I just want to say, Gauri, that tomorrow, if it's a full budget, and there are very attractive proposals, and the Congress party and other parties block, it's going to be a goal by the Congress party and other parties.
Of course. Yes, you had a point to make, sir.
I just want to say that though they have said that it's a full-fledged budget, but definitely who audit this Modi government?
Okay.
Now this is a time when government of India has to give the report card, and they are not giving the report card every time. They are hiding the statistical data. They are hiding sources. Citizens of India want to know what you have done for us in last 4.5 years. They are talking of poor people.
Stop taking of the finances that will happen. That is part of the budget speech.
They are talking for poor people, and I want to say that Gini coefficient Rom has given,
a quick break.
and the inequality in India is
I
on
return
the
on the other side. Quick break. Quick break. I return on the other side. Stay tuned.
Account of what the government.
फोन और मुस्कुरा, फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा, कुछ अपनों की सुन, कुछ अपना, स्माइल को अपनी पहचान बना, BSNL संग मुस्कुरा, फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा, फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा। लम्हे छोटे से ये जिंदगी से भरे, इन्हें हाथों में भर ले और जी ले जरा। हौले हौले से कहती है क्या ये जिंदगी, सुन ले जरा। मुसाफिरा है चला, मुसाफिरा रे।
छोटे छोटे लम्हों का अनोखा सफर, कमला पसंद, अनोखा स्वाद।
मैच खत्म?
नहीं, मेरा डेटा प्लान खत्म।
GPS बंद हो गया, लगता है नेटवर्क गया।
मेरा भी नेटवर्क गायब
टीना,
है। इसका तो फोन ही डब्बा है।
अब
कहीं चलकर रास्ता पूछ लेते हैं।
कमाल का मतलब मारता है भाई साहब। मेरे प्रीतों का फोन फाइनल आ जाऊंगा है ना भाई। वाह, आपके फोन में कौन सा नेटवर्क है? BSNL और की
BSNL दे क्रिस्टल क्लियर वॉइस हाई स्पीड डेटा। BSNL पूर्ण स्वदेशी नेटवर्क।
Sorry, due to severe head injury and heavy bleeding, we were unable to save your son's life.
Ramesh, you never listen to my advice of wearing helmet while riding a bike.
Let it be, Dad. It will spoil my hairstyle.
His friend was saved because he was wearing the helmet.
Help those injured in road accident. For assistance, call police and ambulance. Stop bleeding by applying direct pressure with a clean cloth. Use some hard and flat object to provide support to the spine, hands and legs of the injured.
Be careful on the road while you drive. If you see an accident, save a precious life.
Upon whom every Indian relies. whose every action manifests a desire to make the country proud. She relies only on BSNL broadband because that is the country's best broadband. Be it village or city, super fast internet speed. BSNL, reliable broadband.
BSNL, unbeatable broadband. Like me, you should get connected with BSNL broadband.
Welcome back. You're watching our big debate, countdown to Budget 2019. Interim Finance Minister Piyush Goyal would be presenting the last budget of this government tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, and all eyes on the commentary that will come out from there. Before slipping into that very quick break, Pranjal, we asked that question as to, time and again, there has been a lot of commentary by this government as to how it has made a lot of efforts as far as DBT scheme is concerned. And I come back and ask the same question to you, that do you think this could really be replaced with that big income guarantee scheme tomorrow, given that there's been a lot of noise around it, given that Congress has also been talking about it for the last couple of days?
Well, now that Rahul Gandhi that they will have a minimum income guarantee scheme, there's nothing to stop Prime Minister Narendra Modi to actually implement it right away. And if he does it, people won't remember who said it. It doesn't really matter who said it. It's really who gave it to you first. And I think that's what people are going to remember. I think the systems, as I was saying earlier, are perhaps not as robust as they should be in terms of giving benefits to the poorest people through the electronic transfer, through their accounts. About 340 million people have got these accounts in the last few years. So that's a huge number. We're talking about almost 20% of the population, the poorest of those. And so I think and
more than one person will use the account.
And so it goes to households. So if one person gets it, it has a multiplying factor of 5 at least. So 5 people get benefit from it. So I think this government can do. The real issue which Professor Nalpat also referred to earlier is targeted benefits, which means that, again, don't throw money in the air and whoever grabs it takes it, and that's what's been happening in terms of subsidies. The strongest and the richest and those who have the longest hands could got it. But now the people who really need it should give it, and I think nobody in the country is against that.
Okay. Before I come to you, SK Datta, let's get in a quick word from Ajay Dua. Ajay Dua, where do you stand, sir, on this debate?
I think we are over-stressing the fact that there might be a DBT scheme, a modified one, because there are precisely 2 months, the month of April and May, before the elections take place. No scheme can be conceived and implemented fully within such a short time. Both the government, whichever government is in power after May, would really have to deal with the issue, and I am quite sure that even if certain promises are tomorrow, if only promises can be made, there will not be a scheme which will be able to get off the ground within the next 2 months. That's number one point. And number two, I come back to the point that any scheme which is announced must have targeted targeted transfer, but the scheme will be very modest. Cannot cover all the farmers, it cannot cover all the poor, so it has to be a gradual ramp up, but an announcement that we shall bring such a scheme that could be made, and no more than that.
So 2 things which I would like to put. Some people whoever are commenting on this, if they would have seen yesterday's program where it was in he was talking to some people, you would realize what he's about to do. And secondly, you also need to understand that he has fixed a system where only 15% used to reach. He's made sure that inclusiveness happens. He's also made sure that some or the other, everybody starts feeling as a stakeholder, and which is the idea of ownership. And once you own it, you do not try to splurge it off.
Yes, very quickly, because I want to get a counter from Pallavi Sharma.
Yes, in relation to the targeted group, like how it is implemented, whether it's successful or not, I guess Jan Dhan account itself would be a methodology of targeting the vulnerable groups and to transfer directly to them.
Sorry, can I just
second is like in tomorrow's budget, I am also expecting a huge beneficial scheme coming up for the farmers. That's the information which I have.
Okay.
And I am also expecting some very good sops and goodies coming for the service class.
All right. Okay. Yes, Pallavi. And then I'll get Nasir as well. Yes, Pallavi, very quickly.
Good point.
Yes. Three quick points, Gauri, please. 3 points. I'll make them very quickly. See, the truth of the matter is the 56-inch Prime Minister, chested Prime Minister, has only 56 days. How can he present and his government present a full budget when they have only 56 days? From 1st April to 26th May. 26th May is the day when this government ceases to be in power. It's 5 years.
Pallavi, please read the Constitution. Doing a commentary.
For 56 days, how can you present a budget for...
Go read a commentary, don't become a Rahul Gandhi every now and then.
All right.
56
inch please, SK Datta, please. SK Datta. Let's not take this debate in a different direction.
You have zero knowledge on the subject. You only indulge in personal badgering. Have some shame. Get some knowledge on the subject and then come to debate. Don't indulge in personal badgering.
No, that is the homework and hobby of the Congress Party. You guys have been doing this for the last
all right, SK Datta, I'm sorry. I'm not going to allow that. SK Datta, I'm not going to allow that. I'm going to allow Pallavi to finish her point and then I'm going to get Nasir Salim as well.
Years, not one fiscal met in these 5 years.
All right, Nasir Salim, yes.
Gauri, please give me 20 uninterrupted seconds.
Yes, I'll come to you. I want to quickly just get Nasir Salim. I'll come to you, Pallavi. Yes.
You know, talking about
fiscal target of 3.3%.
I will come to you, Pallavi.
But it has not achieved that. Point 3, a total of 48,000 crores was rolled out for the 5 top schemes of announced by the Prime Minister.
Okay.
They have only utilized 21% of it, and out of that also, let's not forget the truth of Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao was out in public.
Right. Fair point. Fair point. I agree. Fair point.
So we should just stand for the heck of it. We should waste the taxpayers' money.
No, by that logic, no. The rule of budgeting is, no, I'm sorry, Raman Malik, the rule of budget is, if a ministry is not able to spend its money, next year's budget allocation reduces. It's as that. That means next year,
but the point is, you cannot just go ahead and
say... is not going to get half of the budget allocation.
No, you cannot say
that's how Finance Ministry decides budget allocation. Running out of time, I'm going to give those final 30 seconds to Nasir Salim. Yes.
No, Gauri, we were talking about execution of some of these subsidies, and I must tell you, and I want to remind all the panelists here, that while I'm today appearing as a banker, but the Samajwadi pension scheme, which even the apex court praised, I must tell you, Supreme Court said was done very effectively. So if you have the right intention of doing it, like during the Akhilesh Yadav-led government, in the previous 5 years that the UP rule we had, the Samajwadi ensured that effectively more than 55 lakh women got pensions under the Samajwadi pension scheme.
Okay.
So the point is, if you have good intention, you can execute. The challenge remains with the current government is that they have great intention, but they always fail execution. That is the biggest challenge.
Okay, all right, okay. On that note, I do need to slip into that very, very short breather. We come back on the other side and talk about the Aam Aadmi, the middle class, the people who are watching this broadcast right now. We pay our taxes. We even pay through our nose when it comes to those sky-high fuel bills. What is it that we get in return, and what is it that we can expect in that budget that starts tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock? Stay tuned. We come back with that discussion.
Made speed the identity. As distances vanished, it brought a smile to the face. Strong resolve helped overcome every obstacle. With speed, attacked every challenge. The entire world was within my grasp when I found BSNL in the garb of my loved one's affection.
BSNL super fast fiber broadband. Like me, you should get connected with BSNL fiber broadband.
Once you visit Assam, it stays with you forever.
I am proud to play for my country. But doing that requires hard work, separation from family. But there is someone who gives me the courage to fight, brings my loved close to me, always with me, my family and my BSNL Unbreakable Network. I have chosen BSNL Network, so should you.
अरे क्या हुआ चाचा, आज काम करते हुए गाना नहीं गुनगुना रहे हैं आप?
क्या गाएं क्या गुनगुनाएं भैया?
क्यों, क्या हुआ? बैठिए।
छोटे भाई को टीबी हो गई है।
हर सरकारी स्वास्थ्य केंद्र में टीबी का जांच और उसके इलाज दोनों ही मुफ्त में उपलब्ध है।
पर चिंता तो अन्य खर्चों की है।
RNTCP नोटिफाइड जितने भी टीबी मरीज हैं ना, सरकार उन्हें आर्थिक सहायता उपलब्ध करा रही है। इलाज की समाप्ति तक सरकार हर टीबी मरीज के बैंक अकाउंट में हर महीने 500 रुपए दिया करेगी। इससे सही पोषण और अन्य खर्च दोनों में सहायता मिलेगी।
ये तो टीबी के मरीजों के लिए बहुत बड़ी राहत है।
बस गुनगुनाते रहिए चाचा।
टीबी हारेगा, देश जीतेगा।
फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा, फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा, कुछ अपनों की सुन, कुछ अपनी सुना, स्माइल को अपनी पहचान बना। BSNL संग मुस्कुरा, फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा, फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा।
मुस्कान अच्छी है। प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना करोड़ों महिलाओं के चेहरे पर मुस्कान ला रही।
किसने सोचा था हमारे घर में सरकार सिलेंडर लगवा देगी।
और अब उज्ज्वला योजना सबके लिए है। हर महिला अपना पहचान पत्र दिखाकर इस योजना का लाभ उठा।
माताओं की पीड़ा को भली भांति अनुभव करके आया हूँ।
अब 6 करोड़ महिलाओं को मिला उज्ज्वला योजना का लाभ। भारत के 90% घरों में पहुंची घरेलू गैस। प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना, करोड़ों महिलाओं की मुस्कान, अब सबके लिए।
Welcome back. You're watching our special broadcast on NewsX with me, Gauri Dwivedi. It's the last budget before the Lok Sabha elections. Expectations are of course high, and the section which is especially looking forward to some relief is the middle class. We bring to you a charter for the middle classes. The expectations running high and do include as far as a relief on the income tax front, bringing in fuel under GST. That would also ensure that people do to their nose when it comes to fuel, and also a stable rupee. That could be some of the demands that middle class have in fact told us. Our viewers who've been tuning into our broadcast have said as some of these concerns remain a top priority for them, and they would want some sort of redressal as far as these concern from the finance minister tomorrow. All eyes on whether or not the Aam Aadmi, the middle class, would actually find mention or focus as far as the budget is concerned. Let me also get in Yamini Agrawal, who's a professor of finance at the Indian Institute of Finance, joining us on the broadcast. We have Mr. Sumit joining us as well, and Ravi Jain is back. We also have the political representatives of the BJP and Congress. And let me begin with you, Ravi Jain. You're the tax expert on the panel. Should we, as a class who are watching this broadcast and also, of course, part of this, should we be expecting or hopeful of not just minor tinkering, but some major changes as far as tax slabs are concerned and relief is concerned?
So as far as tax slab relief is concerned, Gauri, I think that this is going to be a vote on account or an extended vote of account, let's say, but I don't know whether they will have the capacity to do major changes. The next government comes, what they do. Going by the past trend, and if we look at the slab rate, so like when they came in, they did the slab rate in 2014, and then later they also tinkered with the initial rate, the tax rate, which was 10% for the first slab, 5%. So in my view, I think maybe 2.5, which is the current exempt limit, could be made 3. Okay, and for senior citizen, it could be further increased from 3 to 3.5.
Okay.
There could be some surprise element for women, which was there earlier, but then brought the tax rate at par. So there we can see some kind of a tinkering, but I don't see that we should expect a change. I think apart from the tax rate, other thing we could expect is on the housing loan interest, because if you look at housing loan interest, the projects are getting delayed, and last year the government has capped the interest rate exemption for a housing loan for self-occupied house put together with let-out house at 2 lakhs, which is a very minimum sum. Also coupled with the fact that interest up, I think there could be some room to bring in a large exemption, slightly, maybe from 2 to 2.5 or 3, which will work dual purpose. So not only the industry, but also
let's take
the
this one step at a time. Let's take this one step at a time. So of course, back of the envelope calculation suggests that every time you have a 10,000 rupee exemption that is being given by the finance minister, it does add up to about 1,500 to 2,000 crore. That's how it impacts the exchequer. Yamini Agarwal, let me ask you this question. There are competing claims whenever a budget has to be made. Can such exemptions be expected from the budget tomorrow for the middle class?
Well, since it's going to be the last budget before the election, it's likely to have a populist agenda. So among the populist agenda, one of the agendas would be both trying to take care of the agrarian crisis which is there. So the farm loan waivers which they are likely to look at. They're also trying to look at providing relief to the middle class. So a certain amount of an exemption.
So there can be some exemptions.
There can be certain set of exemptions which are likely to be there. They're expecting that when they are actually giving these exemptions, the revenues which are there are likely to take care of the fiscal consolidation that is there. So they may actually, instead of keeping the fiscal consolidation at 3.3, they may actually switch to 3.5, which is there. So they may actually give these exemptions and the farm loan waivers that are there, and a certain amount of an extra allocations to the women which are there. So whether they are the Nirbhaya fund or the others. So
obviously, with the moment there is, a commentary on the fiscal discipline or the lack of it, it does send out a negative message as well to investors, and especially at a time when we had a ratings upgrade last year, it does have an impact. But Professor Nalapad, let me ask you this question, sir. Should the middle class be expecting some kind of goodies coming their way? After all, election season, everybody is getting something. Why not the middle class?
Gauri, I've always thought that the voters are Indian. And the Indians use rupees. They don't use dollars or pounds. And unfortunately, much of policy is focused on making people with pounds and dollars the beneficiaries at the expense of those who have only rupees. And frankly, I think this is a very strange kind of policy. And now, regarding the middle class, I'd like to say quite clearly that I think if some good steps are taken, like a substantial increase in the ceiling for income tax, it will be good. Let me point out about services. Nearly 60% of the economy is services, and the GST structure which was imposed has made it so complex to operate a service industry. I am told that some individuals 100 times more form filling than was the case prior to the GST. So the GST has created a huge problem for people in the service sector, and I think many of them are very, very upset. And this is definitely impacting growth in the service sector.
Yes. You want to come in here, sir?
Yeah. Well, adding to what Professor has said, I'd like to take it to a bit on a different paradigm. This budget is also for the Modi government to give us vision for next 5 years. So if we expect it will have some little things here and there, it will go much beyond that. Yes, I agree there might be some goodies for the which are well deserved, because middle class at the end of the day is the class which pays maximum percentage of tax. If you look at any section, which section pays maximum percentage of tax is the middle class. So by all rights, they deserve this. So let's not debate on that. But I think this is an opportunity for Modi government. They will not stop at that. In my opinion, the budget is going to detail out for everybody a vision of 5 years. As far as the industry goes, which I represent, especially the service industry, GST and all has made our life a bit complex. But there's one more thing I want to bring here through your channel, is that, we have this, in service industry, we have this TDS of 10%. Now, when we pay a TDS of 10%, how do you assume that we are making a profit of 40%? Make a profit of 40% on our invoices, then we have to pay a tax of 10%. But if you deduct this percentage of 10%, which is paid to us after 1 year, at times it might get delayed, though we get interest. But coupled with the GST, it really impacts the cash flow of the SMEs. I don't know bigger like the TCSs and Accentures of the world, but if you talk of SMEs, this is a genuine concern which needs to be addressed.
But you know, I think the biggest issue here from the narrative of the government, which it has been presenting in the last year, if you look at demonetization, its assessment, which has been pretty brutal, but the fact is between demonetization and GST, the biggest benefit that the government has offered to the public of the country is that the tax base has gone up, that people who were stealing money have been reduced. Now, if the tax base has gone up, then the benefit to me, after all the pains that I went through, is to reduce the taxes. Now, this is a very economic, logical argument that as you increase the tax base, the burden on each individual reduces. I think some reflection of that would be most welcome tomorrow.
Gauri, let me point out, the tax base went up more under UPA 1 under this government. And may also point out that during 2016-2017, the increase in tax base was much smaller than for several years, and that was demonetization. The tax base will go up when you reduce taxes and reduce the hassles of compliance. When you increase the hassles of compliance, and I'm sorry to say, Mr. Chidambaram was a master of creating problems, and unfortunately, very little change for the better has come during this particular government.
I'll come to you, sir.
Sure. Gauri, I think tomorrow's budget, there would be a triangular focus on three important areas. One is, of course, there would be SOPs for the middle class, and especially the service class, because the service class and the middle class in the past couple of elections, it seems they have got somewhat annoyed with the so the government would try to placate them. It's the election year. So I do expect changes in the income tax slab tomorrow, and that would give in some additional benefits to the middle class. Second is, like, I'm expecting a big package coming for the farming sector, and that is in to direct transfer benefit. And
that we spoke about.
In relation to the farmers and the rural areas. And third very important area where I see the government taking some drastic measures is in relation to giving SOPs to the small scale sector. And the cottage and the medium.
Let's get in some of the other guests as well. OP Mishra of the BJP, Ami Yagnik of the Congress, Nasir Salim, who's a banker, and of course also aligned with SP with us on the broadcast. In fact, OP Mishra, let me take opening comments from you. You know, taking on from what the panel has been saying, which is that there can be some sort of goodies or feel-good factor, or who knows, massive changes in favor of the tomorrow.
Yeah, see, my first comment is, first chartered accountant is going to present the budget this year. So you will see drastic changes in terms of policy, economic policy, and some sort of tax slaves, which we have seen kind of stability from long time. So we are expecting much changes in economic policies, and also the policies which can be growth oriented, and also to the stability of our inflation.
All right, Ami Yagnik, you want to come in on that?
So we are looking forward to a growth-oriented budget tomorrow.
Yes, Ami Yagnik.
Yeah, I think we expect a lot from tomorrow's budget, especially when there are so many issues and so many promises made in the last several months. And so I think the larger points I would like to expect would be the in the farming sector, for the unemployment sector, especially the MSMEs. especially employment for women, which has absolutely gone down from 32% to 23% in the labor area. So there should be some great budget allocations and especially a roadmap that is doable. That is what I expect tomorrow. Looking to the data that has come forward in this particular 4 large areas, bigger areas, not to talk about some other areas, we'll take it up as the debate moves on.
All right, yes. Now, you want to comment on that? We were talking about specifically for the middle class, the kind of exemption hikes that one can expect, the kind of specific relief. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, Gauri, yes, I think, since the topic is more for the middle income group, I think 5-6 key points that I'd like to make, and I want to hear this from tomorrow's budget. I think number one, as far as the SME, the MSME space is concerned, if you look at the startup policy in India, it was original, they were given a tax holiday for about 3 years. We expect this to increase to 5 years now because not enough has been done as far as startup India is concerned. And a platform such as these should be given enough to this, because they eventually will become the future SMEs and MSMEs of this nation. Number one. Number two, I think definitely there is a great need for revision in tax slab rates, whether it is on income tax slab rates or by and large the other tax slabs are which will directly impact citizens in the middle income group. Those need to be revised. Thirdly, I think senior citizens, important aspect, a very important part of our society are senior citizens, and I think there we expect the government to look at least some more announcements, such as senior need deduction for medicines. Medicines and pharma is a very important point for them. I think some deduction should come in there. My other point is tax deduction for home insurances. When when a middle income group goes and picks up a house today and he pays a certain insurance for buying the house under any calamity, you're not given any deduction, and this should not be a part of 80C, Gauri. They should be separately put in a separate bucket to get you deductions. My other point is, of course, which is very, very important, and I must tell you, is scrapping, actually streamlining the form of dividends. You see, today what happens is a dividend distribution, tax on distribution, tax paid income of companies is, and then we have further tax in the hands of the beneficiaries of that. So dividend distribution tax in the hands of the companies 15%, and 10% beyond 10 lakhs of income.
All right, now, let's take this step by step. Nasir, let's take this step by step.
At one end, it can't be at both ends.
Let's take this step by step. I want to quickly get in some of the other points, and also, all right, Mr. Ajit Dua, you have a view. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I think we must keep in mind that budget a couple of months just before the election will not be looking at growth, will not be its focus. Its focus is going to be populism and what can give it electoral dividend. To that extent, the expenditure more than revenue is going to be the focus of this budget. Greater expenditure on farms, farming sector, on the rural sector, as also expenditure on some of those sectors which the government thinks.
What about the middle class, sir?
Vote for it in the last. The middle class can expect to get some rationalization of the income tax slabs. The 20% slab, which is up to 10 lakh rupees of income, I have a feeling that might be enlarged from 10 to 15 lakhs or so, because there are many government servants as well as people in the private sector at the middle level who would stand to benefit from it. There could also be a slight tweaking of the exemption limit, which today is at 2.5 lakh rupees. That could be made 2.75 lakhs or so. But I do not, and I'm confident that this budget is not going to be one where too many concessions in taxes will be given. Maybe for Make in India, some indirect taxes, particularly in terms of customs duties, import duties, those could be rationalized. And on the GST simplification, this is just not going to be a subject of the budget. It has to first go through the GST Council. And what happens there, we all know about it. Even if there is a complex system of reporting, or if the services sector is under pressure, the budget is not going to include any of these things.
All right, okay. You want to comment on that, sir?
Well, I simply want to say where there's a will, there's a way. And I think it's very important for people working in the government, the entire bureaucracy, to try and get things done, rather than say that we have this problem and that problem and things can't be done. I think this government, frankly, on GST, there's been far too much bureaucratic input and far too little with the industry, with the result that today, the way, brilliant idea. It's a brilliant idea that's become a nightmare for many people in terms of reporting and also a nightmare in terms of very high rates. So Mr. Dua, what he's saying is absolutely right, but I would like to request Mr. Dua, please ensure that things get done. You know, we people who are outside this charm circle of being in government, the persons who are the guinea pigs, and we would like to see things get done. And as far as GST is concerned, definitely a large number of people are extremely upset, and it's particularly affected the MSME and SME sectors.
Right, yes.
Well, I guess it's not necessary that every nitty-gritties has to be taken care of only by the GST Council.
Right.
You know, the Finance Ministry is entitled and capable enough to take in decisions. And I expect the problems which have arisen because of the complexities in relation to the laws concerning GST and in relation to the multiple forms and all this, there might be some announcements in relation of those. If you remember, even in the last budget also, when the finance minister was speaking, he had touched on this area and he had announced couple of new norms in relation to GST and how to make GST more easy and more people friendly.
The GST is one part of it. You know,
it is one.
Other taxes as well. You know, whether you talk about the education loan, whether you talk about the home
Gauri,
loan.
like I was just coming to those areas only. I expect that the government of India would be giving in benefits to the senior citizens in terms of more, you know, like in terms of more, you know, SOPs or in terms of more stipends in relation to various amenities such as healthcare, such as transportation, in traveling and all those, you know. In relation to the woman, I expect that the government would be taking in some serious attempts to generate more income for the women who are not absolutely employed. You know, even the semi-employed women, there might be some dividends in relation to accelerating their income.
Okay, before I get in both OP Mishra and Yagnik, Pranjal, do you expect and do you share this optimism in terms of, you know, a lot can be expected by the middle class tomorrow?
Look, I think middle class has always been a focus of all governments and all budgets. So it's not as if it's going to be a fresh spot this time. Or a relook, So I mean, I think that's always a given. How do you keep the middle class happy? You know, that's a political narrative all the time. I think what we should discuss in the next few minutes is also the role of millennials. You know, younger population which is coming in to vote this year, Gauri, it's a significant influencer. I think let's look at what is going to be there for them. They are the restless people. They are the ones who have very high aspirations. They are connected, and I think they are not very deeply loyal to any political affiliation. They are perhaps a little bit more emotional, but they are very realistic in what can be done for them. So I think that we should dwell on that for a few minutes.
All right. OP Mishra, what can be expected for those millennials?
Yeah, that is what I want to say. We are just talking about a GST have a separate council. So every decision has been taken on GST issue. That has been done by a separate council. And now the budget things are on, and we have to focus on our youth and the innovation part, because youth is the asset for our country on which we have and we have to focus on that.
Okay, so Yami Yagnik, what can youth centric?
The expectation of what youth have, that is what in
youth centric
in
policies.
terms of startup, we have just the startup things and the mudra loan taken.
Right.
So these are the things we had already done for the youth, and that is the aspiration of youth.
Okay. Let's get it Abi Yagnik as well. Yagnik, do you expect focus on youth tomorrow? Do you expect policies related to, as Pranjal was saying, the millennials, the restless millennial club? Expect some focus there?
Yes, sir, I think there should be central focus on this millennials between the age group of 15 to 24. If you see that the unemployment rate is almost around 3.5%, and I think they are looking towards some kind of a package where they get some kind of certainty as soon as they are out of the education institutions, and that is where I expect that this government should, if it is focusing on education and it is focusing on Skill India and for the younger generation, let there be some kind of a scheme in place, some kind of policy in place, or some kind of a budget allocation or a roadmap for this younger generation. Second thing is they also look at the health sector as well. Because I think we find adolescent girls, we find in this age group there are several health issues which are coming forth. So there should be some kind of, we expect a focus on this as well, because it is somewhere related to this group as well. A third aspect I would like to expect is also for the women. They are looking forward. They are looking forward for some kind of a skill-based package for women when we are talking about women empowerment. So I think these are
a lot can be
policies or some allocations looking forward to the younger generation.
A lot can we do, a lot.
Yes, finish your point, OP Mishra, yes.
A lot can have to be done in health sector, but what the government has done, the Ayushman Yojana, like it's a world largest health policy has been rolled out by this government.
Okay.
And we had already taken the 10 lakh people have been already benefited. So a lot, but if anything which can be improved, that might be better. But we had already done the largest scheme in world. We had already rolled out and successfully rolled out.
Okay, we slip into a very, very short break.
I expect.
Ajay Dua, give me 30 seconds, sir. I need to take that very short commercial break. I come back and ask you your expectations from the budget tomorrow. Stay tuned.
मैच खत्म?
नहीं, मेरा डेटा प्लान खत्म।
जीपीएस बंद हो गया, लगता है नेटवर्क गया।
मेरा भी नेटवर्क गायब
टीना,
है। इसका तो फोन ही डब्बा है।
अब
कहीं चलकर रास्ता पूछ लेते हैं।
कमाल दा मतलब मारता है भाई साहब। मेरे प्रीतो का फोन है। हाँ, टाइम ना ला जावांगा। भाई वाह, आपके फोन में कौन सा नेटवर्क है? BSNL और
BSNL दे क्रिस्टल क्लियर वॉइस हाई स्पीड डेटा। BSNL पूर्ण स्वदेशी नेटवर्क।
तुम्हारे पापा ने मना कर दिया तो?
हिटलर थोड़ी ना है मेरे पापा। 1-2 घंटे बिठा कर टेस्ट लेंगे, फिर हाँ बोल देंगे।
टेस्ट? कैसा टेस्ट?
हाँ तो यंग मैन, क्या नाम बताया?
रवि कुमार।
जो भी है, कहाँ तक पढ़े हो?
जी मैं।
क्या करते हो?
तुम
ड्रग्स तो नहीं करते?
नहीं।
वैसे तुम्हारा HIV स्टेटस क्या है?
हाँ जी बोलो।
HIV के लक्षण दिखने में सकता है। अगर आपने कभी भी असुरक्षित यौन संबंध रखा हो या संक्रमित सुई का इस्तेमाल किया हो तो नजदीकी ICTC क्लिनिक में HIV की जांच जरूर करवाएं। सरकारी अस्पताल में HIV की जांच और इलाज गुप्त और मुफ्त। HIV से बचाओ, लाइफ का असली इम्तिहान।
Upon whom every Indian relies, whose every action manifests a desire to make the country proud. She relies only on BSNL broadband because that is the country's best broadband. Be it village or city, super fast internet speed. BSNL, reliable broadband.
BSNL, unbeatable broadband. Like me, you should get connected with BSNL broadband.
मुस्कान अच्छी है। प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना करोड़ों महिलाओं के चेहरे पर मुस्कान ला रही है।
किसने सोचा था हमारे घर में सरकार सिलेंडर लगवा देगी।
और अब उज्ज्वला योजना सबके लिए है। हर महिला पत्र दिखाकर इस योजना का लाभ उठा सकती है।
माताओं की पीड़ा को भली भांति अनुभव करके आया हूँ।
अब 6 करोड़ महिलाओं को मिला उज्ज्वला योजना का लाभ। भारत के 90% घरों में पहुंची घरेलू गैस। प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना, करोड़ों की मुस्कान अब सबके लिए।
Made speed the identity. As distances vanished, it brought a smile to the face. strong resolve helped overcome every obstacle. With speed, attacked every challenge. The entire world was within my grasp when I found BSNL in the garb of my loved one's affection.
BSNL super fast fiber broadband. Like me, you should get connected with BSNL fiber broadband.
This week on the roundtable, we are going to be discussing something that affects us all, the food that we eat.
Fasting doesn't mean that you keep yourself empty stomach. I have not seen anybody losing weight when they are fasting.
When you have this 8-16 as they call it, the 8 hours doesn't mean that you eat rubbish.
It is basically on 3 pillars: have safe food, and then have fortified food.
Whenever you're following any kind of diet, you would find results for sure. It is not practical.
Welcome back. You're watching a special broadcast ahead of Budget 2019 with me, Gauri Dwivedi. The question that we've been asking, the charter for middle class, what is it that Aam Aadmi, the people who pay their taxes honestly, the people who pay through their nose when it comes to fuel, what is it that they can expect tomorrow when Interim Finance Minister Piyush Goyal makes that speech, the last budget for the Modi government? In fact, Nasir Salim, let me ask you this question. You know, as a middle class person, I'm assuming you are one, and paying your taxes, what would be the #1 thing on your wish list?
Gauri, yes, absolutely, truly middle class. But yeah, having said that, I think 2-3 very key important points. I think #1, what I would really want is the larger umbrella of 80C, which gives us a 1.5 lakh limit deduction, to be increased and have more avenues under that, and also the limit to be increased from 1,50,000 to about maybe 200,000 lakhs. Number one. #2, I think as far as taxation is concerned on equity, because today equity ownership today in India is just about sub 3% as a nation, and there I think we were hit really hard last year because the finance minister then all of a sudden implemented a taxation on equity funds, for example. The middle income group largely who understand risk profile of equity funds invest in equity for long term. So at one end you have the SEBI propagating investing and talking about goal-based investing, and then you all of a sudden come back and say, I'm going to start taking away that pie from you because I find that as a big chunk to ensure that I cover my shortages or slippages of on the economy. I think is something which can be done away with. That is something which needs to be clearly be addressed. I think from a security perspective more so, last year if you see one of the lowest allocations, Gauri, defense. Last year our budgetary allocation to defense was only 1.5% of India's GDP. Now that is an alarming figure. We need border security, we need to ensure that our
you're forcing me to say something which is going to take this entire debate into a completely different direction.
What is happening across
Nasir, jab Rafale kharidte, then people have a problem. If the defense budget is low, then people have a problem. But I'm not going to let this debate be hijacked by that. Finish your point, because then I'm going to get the other panelists as well.
No, so my point was on defense. My last point, of course, is on healthcare and on on what is the deductions for medicines. Today, healthcare by and large is a very important factor and dents the middle income and the upper middle income group largely. And especially senior citizens.
Right.
So I think a lot of focus needs to be given there, and we should. And again, I think it's very important because this is what will ensure that you can actually benefit the middle income group.
All right. We've prepared a charter here at News. This was, of course, based on a lot of what viewers have been telling us. And the one thing that one viewer, in fact, people in the senior citizen category said, what about the taxes on interest earned on FDs? This was the government that did introduce that, and many people, senior citizens, are upset with that.
So for senior citizens in the last budget, if you remember, for
interest, including FD, the limit was raised to 50,000, which for others are 10,000, and that is also only on interest from savings and not from fixed deposit.
Yes.
So while saying that, I am not saying that that is enough, but it was done for senior citizens, specifically on that point. Back to, I mean, in the last budget, a lot was done for senior citizen, but then yes, when it comes to the medical needs, this expense on medicines,
that isn't
I
keeping
think
pace with reality.
Yeah, so that is required. That is something which we can look at. Even the medical insurance, which was increased, could be looked at to be increased to 1 lakh. Now I think it is about 50,000.
Yes.
But I want to make a completely different point. While we are cribbing about all these numbers, etc., but let's look at also, we can make this whole system more simple. And the budget is not just one episode, it's like a whole journey. So if you look at some of which has been taken by this government is like the electronic assessment or the tax refund started coming faster. So can we incentivize the tax department kind of make the refunds faster or penalize them if they are delaying it unnecessarily?
Is that a pain point?
Yeah,
How big a pain point is that?
So that's one, Gauri. So I'll take one more minute.
Yeah, sure.
And like last year, they withdrew the medical reimbursement, right? So that saves
and
lot
standard
of
deductions came in.
So that saves a lot of hassle, and when it comes to administration, so that's to me simplification, or scrapping the wealth tax, which was like more just So these are all steps towards simplification, but that's not all. Using technology, we can do, how we can further simplify this whole
of
thing.
course, simplification is part of the process. Yes.
You know, it's I fully agree with him. The more simple it is, the better for long-term growth.
Yes.
And we are still searching for a formula for double-digit growth. China has had double-digit growth for more than a generation.
Yes.
And that's where China is 5 times the size of the Indian economy.
Yes.
Let's, you know, because of that one generation of double-digit growth, it can transform India. But it's not simply a question of simplification. It's also accountability.
Yes.
We have seen, for example, the case of a private bank, how for a long time, obviously the regulators were just sleeping and allowed all kinds of transactions to take place. Now, whether it is, Nasser Salim is very correct about the stock market. The problem is now you have in the United States, for example, insider trading is punishable by jail.
And
now
very, very serious charges.
In India, I'm sorry to say, people are getting away with all kinds of things while trading on the stock market. It's very important to hold them to account.
Okay, yes.
Absolutely. I guess the regulations in relation to FERA and FEMA and SEBI, like these are the areas where more stringent measures needs to be taken. Action and measures needs to be taken, because we are seeing that people are going scot-free by, indulging in financial crimes. So that is something which has to be taken into account. Just 10 seconds more, please. In relation to the young toddlers who are the first-time voters, very important area, because this time almost around 10 crore young boys and
new
girls
voters will be added.
What I understand is like
education for them, education loans.
Education is very important. I understand that government might come with a number of scholarship schemes in relation to benefiting those youngsters. Second is like in relation to Startup India, Digital India, Stand Up India, and these kind of schemes which cater to the young lot. I guess they would allocation of funds to make those schemes more friendly and more viable.
What about the daily trader or the investor, who is there on the stock market? I'm not talking about the big investors. I'm not talking about the FIRs. They are driven by other commentary that the finance minister would be making tomorrow. But what about small investors? How do they stand to get impacted tomorrow, and what would be their #1 priority and their wish list?
I think what they would want from government is more. They want transparency. They are looking forward to some dividends.
Every year, I know this, after covering several budgets, the same commentary around LTCG makes a comeback every year. There is confusion for a couple of days till there is more clarity that the government brings in. Unfortunate, but it's a daily trend, a yearly trend that happens.
This is something which
will
kind of happen over the time. But
30 seconds, Nasir. I'll come to you. 30 seconds.
It's going to simplify. I mean, let me add on to what we're talking about the millennials. If you talk about the millennials, I deal a lot with them in my business. The utmost priority across India, Kashmir to Kanyakumari, Assam to Gujarat, is development. They want jobs, and they want a capitalistic lifestyle. They want a phones, they all want to have big cars, and they want them very young.
Yes.
So anything, if you want to go to millennials, if you promise them earth, sky and the moon, it doesn't work. If you promise them jobs, if you promise them development, if you so the budget has to have three things in my opinion. I'll not take a lot of time. One is a lot of infrastructure projects, a lot of capital expenditure. It has to have a lot of industrialization. Because agree and economy, the answer is industrialization, nothing else in India. And it starts from Subhash Chandra Bose to all agree. And point number 3, one last second, ma'am. The thing is, we have to empower women. It's not what Rahul Gandhi ji says about women empowerment. The real empowerment of women and getting urban and rural women into the mainstream.
Into the workforce. Yes, Yamini. Yes, go ahead.
I think this budget is likely to, draw its lessons from the 3 elections that they've actually lost.
So it's a please-all budget, huh?
So
that's what it's going to be.
No, it's focus more on the agriculture. It's going to focus more on the infrastructure allocations that are there. It's going to focus on the women, which is there. So these are 3 good focus. Especially for the agriculture, there are likely to be more allocations. There can be a direct benefit scheme that is likely to be there. There can be farm loan waivers that is there. There is more investments in irrigation or cold storages, which is then supposed to be expected. As far as infrastructure allocations are concerned, because this government is seeing a lot of opposition coming up with the employment figures that the unemployment is too much. So infrastructure, when they make allocations through the Manrega scheme or through the other schemes, when the allocations are high, there is likely to be more employment. Now, for the youth, they have already, they've already made a 10% quota, which is there, which is likely to increase the seats in many of the institutions. So there is also likely to be a case where they are going to be
increasing the number of seats,
increasing the number of seats, and more allocations to be given to the institutions for the purposes of higher education, which is there, as well as for skill development, which is then supposed to be there, because this government has been not only focusing on people who are not, but they are also who are not skilled. So there's likely to be a greater allocation for skill development, and there. Also, this government has been focusing on saying that the RBI, through its prompt corrective action, which it has stopped the banks to lend, should actually bring in more lending. So there is likely to be more allocation schemes or the other schemes which are likely to bring about more entrepreneurship.
The jury is still out there as far as the Mudra scheme and of course the large scale impact, whether it has.
5 seconds.
SK Datta, just give me 5 seconds. I want to quickly get in Nasir Salim, then I'll come back to you. Yes, Nasir Salim, you had a point to make as far as the long-term capital gains tax is concerned, and also, of course, how the daily trader, the daily investor who invests on the large street stands to get impacted.
3 quick points. So 3 quick points there, Gauri, overall. So one on the LTCGC, actually wherever there is an investor who is actually trading, who is a trader, profession or by habit, there we need to have separate set of laws. Those can't be put under investors. Investors do not do punting, they do not do short-term investing, they do investing which is goal-based. So here's my point. We had the grandfathering clause that was introduced last year by the Honorable Finance Minister. Obviously that will not be able to change much there, but I think what we can do and we should expect the government to do is to reduce long-term capital gain of debt funds from 3 years to 1 year. That is something which can be which can make a positive impact in change and will be welcome. Number 2, my other big point, Gauri, overall in the budget perspective is we've completely missed is, I'm also looking forward, being a middle income group and, being a resident in Delhi, I also expect that the government does enough push on environment. If there is enough subsidies given on green and alternative energy, I think that's a very, very important integral part of a budget discussion that should be included tomorrow.
So on electric vehicles, there will be some sort of commentary
from the upper
that is expected push on electric vehicles, but other than that remains to be seen.
Yes. Move on. Yes, I'm hoping maybe some green cess can be given for alternative energies, for example. Or certain subsidies can be given for using alternative energies. So that's my point. But having said that, and my last point is, I think one thing which we need to really watch out for, Gauri, is inheritance tax. There's a discussion over the last 2 to 3 years between the banker community and between the finance secretaries. And I must tell you, there is also a discussion of introducing inheritance tax. Like in the US, in UK, it ranges between 45 to 50%, and we are hoping that the government doesn't touch upon that, because that is something which will again hamper growth at somewhere and will become more divisive in nature rather than actually progressive.
Yes. SK Datta, to you, and then I'll come to Ajay Dua. Yes.
Well, in the initial part of the discussion, someone in the panel was talking about the vision of this budget, you know, and there would be a reflection of the vision of the 5 years of the Modi government in relation to this last budget. What I understand is, like, in relation to the vision itself, you know, half of the problems in our country, or say 70% of the problems in our country, is precisely because we haven't focused on the rural areas. We haven't focused on the semi-urban areas. My understanding is, like, if we really have to eradicate the menace of unemployment, poverty and all these things, you know, and social upliftment, we have to think on the lines of smart towns and smart villages. You know, like villages which are self-reliant, which are self-equipped, towns which
but there's been a lot of... How do you reach there is the point.
No, that is something which the government has to think, you know. Instead of creating, say, you know, 50, 20 smart cities, and the quantum of allocation of money for that, it's much better to create in small smart towns and smart villages, you know, and
enclaves of you know, and retrofitting being done in cities.
Gauri, the problem with the megapolis and with the metropolis is because of the exodus of population from the rural areas. Urban areas, you know, it has to be the other way around now.
Quick word from Ajay Dua, yes.
Gauri, just very quickly, Gauri, I expect for the millennium, Minister hinted at when he was addressing the Vibrant Summit in Gujarat, that angel tax for startups is something which noticed is irking the young starters. I expect that to be addressed, but more important, looking at the fact that with great difficulty the BJP got a foothold in the Northeast, and with the Citizenship Act anointing state governments and the leadership there, there would be economic incentives of a larger order granted to the Northeast. It may be the transport subsidy scheme, which was stopped at one time because of misuse, and also the subsidy capital grants which are given for setting up new industries and deferring taxes. Incentives of that kind focused on the Northeast should also be in this budget.
Ami Agnik, do you agree that at the end of the day it's going to be a political budget and political compulsions would be driving the BJP, the Modi government?
Yes, looks like, because it's just before the elections, and there has been so much distress in the farm sector, in the education sector, and so we do expect that there should be a lot of allocation as far as the millennials and the education system goes, especially scholarships and Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, and also for teacher training programs. But I think they would definitely get some kind of populism rather than look at the hard reality and look at smart education, smart classrooms, cash support schemes for farmers, and not to talk about real estate, you know, housing and environment. So these are important issues that need allocation and need a lot of thinking. So let's hope for the best tomorrow.
All right, okay, yes. Yes, you had a point to make, yes.
Yeah, so,
and then I'll come to you, yes.
you know, like when it comes to